we intended to do, get off to a great start. And, we let it go. They stayed resilient and they kept playing through. So, tough loss for us.
Hello, Devin, you talked about what you learned in the playoffs is that it's a series, that it's not just one game. So just speak to that mindset of going back to Milwaukee, knowing you get that one, you'll be back here for a Game 7.
I mean, one at a time. Our focus is the Milwaukee right now. That's how you have to do these series, one game at a time. And, yeah, that's it.
Dave, here in the front.
Look, I wanted to ask you about the play. You guys are down one. You're coming down the court. You pick up your dribble around the foul line, and then Drew comes in. Just what were you seeing on the court in that moment? And when you kind of had a little bit of a transition opportunity, what were you seeing as you surveyed the court?
I was just trying to score the ball. He was behind me. I turned, and he was right there.
Over on the right side. Go ahead.
Hey, Devin. Obviously you had a great night, but it seemed like a lot of times that there was a lot of isolation. There wasn't a ton of ball movement. I know you talk about 0.5, and there weren't many of those possessions. Did you think things got, and maybe this for Chris too, that things were just too isolated and stagnant on offense for too long during the night?
Yeah, the whole third quarter, was pretty much that. We were trading basket for, I think, 5 minutes straight. But, we're at our best when we get stops and get out in transition. So, I always say we hang our hat on the defense end, and that's where we have to be better.
And Chris, what did you think about just kind of the ball movement? And did you feel it got a little stagnant at times?
Yeah, it definitely did, especially in that second quarter when I was out there. We talk about it all season long. We've been a ball movement team, and sometimes the switching can cause you to do that. We exploit it at times, but sometimes we don't. We'll go back and look at the film and see what we could have did better.
Gina?
For both you guys, I mean, you haven't lost 3 games in a row in 6 months since January and haven't really faced a must-win as far as an elimination game situation all playoffs. So just, I know how much you guys pride yourself on resilience and fighting back. So just what do you hope to see from you guys and your teammates the next 2 days to get ready for Game 6?
Just embrace it.
Yeah. We knew this wasn't going to be easy. We didn't expect it to be, and I mean, it's hard. Coach said it all year long. Everything we want's on the other side of hard, and it don't get no harder than this. So we got to regroup.
The Bucks have won 3 straight. They're a win away from an NBA title. Mike Budenholzer following the game.
I thought, the steal earlier in the game was a big play. And then the steal late, just, I think it's just an instinctive play. He's incredible defender and strong hands and got in there and took it. And, I think, probably most times you want to just pull it out and run the clock, but Drew and Giannis in a 2-on-1 and just to put 2 points on the board, I think just, trusting their instincts, trusting them, Giannis getting a bucket and putting us up, I think that made it 4 or 5, but they're playing, they're competing, and that's what we need.
Yeah, these two competing. The Bucks all-star duo of Giannis and Chris Middleton. They have carried this team all postseason long. They're the second duo to put up 500 points and 100 assists in a single playoff run, joining LeBron James and D. Wade from the 2012 Heat team. Milwaukee 1 game away from winning the title, just like that Miami team. What changed after that first quarter when the Bucks were down 16 and it looked like the Suns were just going to run away with this game?
Well, Drew Holiday put this team on his back in the first half, and I'll tell you what, if he doesn't play that well in the first half, they're probably down 20 going into the locker room, and I don't think they're coming back from that. So for me, this was Drew Holiday's night from the start. You could see his aggressiveness, and they're a different team when he plays this aggressively, and he doesn't always shoot the ball well. We know he was 4 for 20 in the last game, but I think more importantly, he took 20 shots because he's in that mindset of trying to play like a star. And you're going to get certain things out of Giannis and Chris Middleton. Drew Holiday, to me, is the guy that can fluctuate. And in this game, his aggressiveness from the beginning, he got into his mid-range, he got to the rim, he shot deep threes. He was feeling it at a time when the Phoenix Suns were scoring every trip down the floor. Drew Holiday kept his team's head above water, kept him within striking distance, and gave other guys an opportunity in that second half, Giannis and Chris Middleton at the top of that list, to then get them back into it, where now they had 3 stars operating at the same time. 88 points between their 3 best players. If you're Phoenix, you just can't overcome that when a team has their 3 best players play that well offensively. It was almost a perfect game, except for the free throws late by Giannis. Other than that, the Milwaukee Bucks really can't play any better offensively than they did tonight. Drew Holiday was a huge part of that.
I mean, it's incredible. Like you said, when you have 3 guys performing at that level of 32 points, 29 points, 27 points, that's hard to take down. Also hard to take down is Devin Booker. He had back-to-back 40-point games, but both were in a loss. How devastating is it for this Phoenix team to get that from your best player and then still lose?
Yeah, and it hurts. It hurts a lot, and I think it also tells you a little bit about where the Phoenix Suns are right now in this process. You know, this is a team that's probably still going to need another legitimate star perimeter player to go with Devin Booker if they really want to win a title at some point. Now, look, they're not out of this series. They've got 2 games to win, but if someone doesn't step up in a big way, and, you know, Chris Paul played well late in this game, but for the most part, he was quiet most of the night. DeAndre Ayton is going to get most of his offense created for him. Devin Booker was the one guy that was out there doing his thing and creating offense. He did it again in the previous game. But when you don't have enough help and now you're going up against a team that has 3 guys playing like all league players the way that the Bucks had tonight, it's just too much to overcome. So, yes, it's demoralizing. It's deflating. And you wonder, you know, does Devin Booker have another game like this in him? It's really incredible the way that he has played. But you can't blame him if he finally has an off night. And if he does, where is the offense going to come from to offset what Milwaukee is throwing at them right now? Because they're throwing haymakers at them offensively. Devin Booker's going to need more help than he got tonight.
Absolutely. I mean, it was great to see Chris Paul get more involved from his 10-point performance in Game 4, 21 today. But if you're going to try to keep up with the Bucks, that would just not be enough. Tim Legler, thank you so much. So the Bucks trailed by 16 after 12 minutes in this one. Milwaukee is the second team in finals history to win despite a deficit that large at the end of the first quarter, joining the 2008 Celtics. The Bucks shot 71 this one. Milwaukee is the second team in finals history to win despite a deficit that large at the end of the first quarter, joining the 2008 Celtics. The Bucks shot 71.
Wilbon joins us now from the newly named Footprint Center in Phoenix. Michael, that alley-oop is going to be the thing we see over and over again here. The clinching play in Game 5, as the block was in Game 4. But that big 3, Michael, that doesn't get the shine for whatever reason that a lot of other big 3s were up near historic numbers tonight, 88 points in Game 5. How do you put their performance into context?
It was virtually flawless. I mean, Tim Legler alluded to it already. Other than some missed free throws from Giannis late in the game, and actually one by Middleton as well, to sort of let Phoenix back in this, to get that big 3 to play that well in a game on the road. I mean, you don't want to have to come back here for Game 7, even if you win Game 6 at home, for those 3 to play like that. And Drew Holiday started it. I mean, he was just all over Chris Paul defensively early. It was sort of amazing that Chris, with whatever was ailing him with that hand, was able to play himself back into Chris Paul form late. And I think he hit all 3 of his threes in this game as well. But Drew Holiday was so aggressive defensively, and that seemed to get him going offensively. And then by the time Middleton got into it in the middle third of the game, and then Giannis late as the closer, again, except the free throws, I don't know how you can expect for any big 3 to play better than the Bucks' big 3 did tonight.
They get 32 from Giannis, 29 from Chris Middleton, 27 from Drew Holiday in the win. Michael, on the other side, Phoenix shoots 55% from the field. They shoot 62% from three-point range in their building, and they lose. Monty Williams, who's been so good with messages to his team in this series and all season long. I mean, what's the message to your team after you lose with that kind of a performance?
Yeah, I don't know where they go. They're going to have to dig a place deeper than most of those players on the Suns have ever dug before or even tried to. I mean, Chris Paul has been in close to this situation. The rest have not. They've got to dig someplace really deep to sort of, not to motivate themselves. I mean, you see how this team, how hard they played, how resolute they were late when it looked like they had no chance to come back. But now they've got to do this again. You got to go get how many points from Devin Booker? You know, I had the pleasure of sitting next to Hall of Famer Isaiah Thomas tonight to watch this game here in Phoenix. And I remember I said to Isaiah, if Booker doesn't get 45 or more, they can't win this game. They were just so far down, and people were chipping in a little bit at a time. I know Ayton had 20 points and 10 rebounds, but he wasn't the force that we've seen earlier in this series or in other playoff series this season, this postseason for Phoenix. So where do you go? And it's going to be interesting what it is they come up with. Maybe, and this may be the important thing, we saw Chris Paul look like Chris Paul again. Again, hurting. I know he's not going to talk about it. I don't know that anybody outside the team knows specifically, how badly Chris is hurting and what's going on with that hand, but something is. But he played his way through it. And can he start in that place in Game 6 in Milwaukee, a game now that the Suns have to have? Remember, the Phoenix Suns have not faced elimination. They've only trailed once in this postseason, 2-1 to the Lakers before they took the Lakers out with 3 consecutive wins. So the Suns
kicked in against CP3. CP3, I think that he'll have 2 damn good games out of 3. I don't think it'll be a good game, Game 6. I think Booker could potentially have 3 big games, but at least 2. I don't think it'll be Game 6. I think Game 6 is going to belong to the Milwaukee Bucks, which means the Phoenix Suns got home court advantage for a reason. They better win Game 5.
I don't feel that way. I think it's a pretty damn good idea to win type game, but I wouldn't call it a must-win, Stephen A., because I just watched the Phoenix Suns, even with Chris Paul turning the ball over and all that, I just watched them take them to the brink in Game 4. It took one of the greatest plays in the history of basketball, right? And Chris Paul turning the ball over and Middleton going bananas at the end to squeak out a win in Game 4. Why am I to believe that the Suns are incapable of winning Game 6? I have a legitimate question for you, Stephen A., because you've been covering this series. You've been in Phoenix. You've been in Milwaukee. And I'm not talking about the Deer District, right? I get that whole kind of area might be an advantage. I'm talking about in the arena. Do you notice a better home court advantage in terms of the fans for the Bucks than the Suns?
I got to tell you, I thought that no one was even on Phoenix's level, to believe it or not, until I went to Milwaukee. I mean, it's all they have, Max. Green Bay's 2 hours away. I mean, the Brewers, they'll think about the Brewers, as the summer progresses. It's all they have. And to see them be this close to a championship, this crowd in Milwaukee is something special.
It's better than Phoenix's. Is it better than Phoenix's home crowd?
I'm not going to say better than, but it's on that level.
Okay,
it's on that level, Max.
That's what I thought, because when you watch Phoenix, at least on TV, it's like, whoa, that's a home crowd. That's a home court advantage. And that's my point. You're right about Game 6. That's a tough spot for the Suns to be in if they lose Game 5, have to do that in front of that crowd in Milwaukee. But the same can be said for this Game 5. If I see the Bucks able to overcome the home court advantage of the Suns, and I just saw the Suns come within a whisker of doing that to the Bucks in Game 4, well, I already know that one team can win on the other's home court, and I already know one team can take the other team to the wire. I wouldn't say that the Suns are incapable of winning in Milwaukee. I don't anticipate that Chris Paul will continue to have 1 million turnovers a game. And I don't think Devin Booker is going to, look, he lit it up after he had a couple bad games, right? He lit it up. I think they can win in Milwaukee.
Well, let me throw this at you, Max, because, you've been to enough sporting events in your life. When you're watching a team and you feel like they missed a moment? That's what I feel Phoenix did in Game 4. Devin Booker picks up his 5th foul with about 6 minutes left or so, and he's got to go to the bench, and he's rolling, and he's absolutely unstoppable. But the foul stopped him because he had to go to the bench, and while he was on the bench was obviously when Milwaukee made their run. People keep forgetting Phoenix had a 9-point lead, if I remember correctly, in the 4th quarter, and they lost that. I mean, they were rolling. You had a lead, and on top of it all, Devin Booker couldn't be stopped. He was flowing. And so when you look at it from that perspective, just thinking about it, asking yourself, with a championship on the line, a Game 6, an opportunity to avoid a trip to Phoenix for a Game 7, that home crowd, that Deer District, which, by the way, all of these numbers, people keep talking about 12, 15,000. I was told by the Milwaukee Bucks, by a member of the Milwaukee Bucks. It was 25,000 people.
It's
out
easy
there.
to believe that.
I was told it was 25,000
Did it feel that
people.
way?
All right, yes. And so what I'm saying is this. You got 25,000 people outside, and they are rocking, and they're roaring. You got the great Mike Breen, the Hall of Famer that is Mike Breen, literally telling you, this building is shaking after Middleton makes a layup and the and one that wasn't because Devin Booker didn't get called for one of the 4 times he should have fouled out of the game and stuff like that. And Breen is talking about the building is shaking. He ain't lying, Max, because when I was there for Game 3, the building was shaking. I mean, it was pandemonium. It was electric, man. And I'm just saying, if you are the Milwaukee Bucks and you just warded off Phoenix in Game 4, if you win Game 5, you don't come back and let Game 6 go. I don't believe that happens.
Mind, though,
I really, really don't. And the home rims are easier for Giannis from the free throw line, it appears, as well.
Keep in mind, though, what we were all thinking in that Clippers series. Chris Paul misses the first couple of games, COVID.
Yep.
Campaign played great. He comes back, but early on in that series, like, the Suns might beat, the Clippers might beat the Suns, not early on. Once the